Hello, this is Mark Anderson with Chattown Stages. Welcome to our finale. We are finally here. We have the three judges here, Stratton Tingle and Anthony Quayles. And I want to thank our sponsor, Mountain Music. They're out there on Hickson Pike in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they have personal service. It's a locally owned store, and it's where I buy my instruments and my guitar strings, and I go there just because they're friendly. And so that's, we thank them. And then we're thanking Soundcore for all they do for the music industry in Chattanooga. And we have here Stratton Tingle, who's executive director, is that right? What's your title?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna, the videos that you've been watching, most of them were recorded at the Soundcore studio. And we're just so glad that this event and the music that happens here in Chattanooga, I'm so proud to be part of this creative city. Anyway, we're going to get to announcing some winners, and we have, the voting is closed. It's a little after 6, and we know who the people's choice is, and we will tell you that in a little bit. But first, we're going to talk about what the judges thought of these people. Am I forgetting anything? Here we go. So our contestants, our 8 contestants, Braden Gurete, Catman Smothers, Drew Rochelle, E.T., Ida York, Nancy Dwight Siders, Ryan Oyer, and Tim Cofield. All amazing. They each rose to the occasion. It's a competition does bring out the best in us. And we're gonna, instead of talking about each individual one, we're gonna talk about the judges' qualities. What do you call it? The rubric that we were. So we started out with lyrics. So judges, whose lyrics stood out to you the most?
You want to go, Stratton?
I'm talking to both of you. Should I start with one or the other? Anthony, your lyrics are really important to you.
Yeah, and I'll say this, my background comes from being a staff writer for about 10 years for a publishing company. So I'm looking at it strictly lyrics from what's going to get past a publisher's desk into an artist's hands. And so for me, I'm less about ambiguous lyrics. Not that they're a bad thing. It's just that's not my focus. My focus is a clear storyline. There's a definitive beginning, middle, end. There's something in there that ties that story together. So for me, I felt like at least, and I want to preface this, there were no bad songs. There were just, for me, I felt like there were stronger songs than others. For me, Catman Smothers was my, I felt like that his storyline and was the most memorable for me. I read through the lyrics. I felt like that they were clear and concise. I felt like that there were things that he said in the lyric that were different than what I had heard from before. Not that anybody else didn't have things of that nature. I just felt like his lyrics were really concise and clear. There were other, Ryan Oyer, he had some fantastic lines and fantastic lyrics. I'm just pointing out, some of the ones that were really memorable. I felt like that the song that Catman Smothers gave about the firefly was the imagery and the descriptive nature of the lyrics were just fantastic.
Other than him, where were the other strong ones? You mentioned Ryan.
Like I said, Ryan Oyer was really strong. The reason why I mentioned him because he's on my first sheet, so it's not that I'm ignoring anybody else. I'm just I felt like that Drew Rochelle had some really nice rhyme schemes in the lyrics. I felt like with her lyrics there were also a lot of things I've heard before. So I was waiting for that. For me, I'm always like that wow moment. I love a good turn of phrase. And so I felt like that she was right there on the edge of this wow moment. And I felt like it just dig a little bit deeper. You're going to have this wow moment where you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever heard a song and there's this moment where it just drops and you're just like, wow, that I didn't get that. It was so close, so close. And I felt like that there was just right on the edge. I mean, and everybody was kind of that in that same vein. That's why they're all in the top 8 is they all had that potential to hit that. I just felt like that there were some areas when it came to the lyric writing that I focused on more than maybe Stratton or you did, Mark. And that just comes from my background as a professional staff writer. That was it. Nothing against anybody else's songwriting. I just felt like that there were some that stuck out more than others.
Yeah, we're hoping they don't hold it against us. I put my car in the garage tonight to protect my tires, you know.
Yeah, and I
Where'd you guys park?
I preface this too before we started recording is this in no way is a reflection of you as a songwriter, as a person, just a song. That's it. I know we tend to songwriters to hold our songs really tight like babies, and you're going to not need to do that in order to grow as a songwriter and to take criticism. And again, not any reflection on the actual person writing the song. I don't know most of these folks, so I'm just looking at the song and what was provided.
Stratton, what did you think about the songwriting?
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different take, I think, than Anthony, which is great. I think one thing to mention just within this group is that all three of us are white males judging this group of, as far as I know, all white songwriters. So I know that's something that all of us are aware of, a diversity in songwriting. And certainly Chattanooga has a much more diverse songwriting community than what is reflected here in the finals. But so I kind of want to just like state that a little bit to challenge us to work harder to incorporate a more diverse group of applicants. I think that comes certainly from Soundcore as one of the sponsors of this organization and one of the responsible parties for getting the word out about how to apply and how to get into this. But also I challenge both of y'all to also work on that. And I know diversity is near and dear to both of your hearts. So that's not a criticism, but that's certainly a self evaluation before we get into the judging. I think that I am certainly, I've never been a staff writer for a songwriting organization or publishing company. So my opinions certainly differ. I am definitely more into, not into, but I am a more of a probably fan of the independent artist and more involved with independent artists than a lot of y'all. And I feel like, you know, a standout artist is Ida York with the song, specifically on the songwriting. She reminded me a lot of one of my favorite songwriters, who is Joanna Newsom, who is certainly a polarizing voice in the music community and someone who is not embraced by plenty of people, but whose poetic abilities and turns of phrases and lyricism is really embraced by some folks. And I'm just drawn to a lot of Ida's lyrics, specifically her songwriting. Also, you know, big props to Ryan Oyer. He has been honing his craft for a long time. I remember playing open mic nights with him decades ago, and he has certainly come a long way and honed his craft. But also more of a newcomer who I feel like around our community, Drew Rochelle. I give her really big props. Her songs sound like pop hits to me, like they should be on the radio. That may not be true from a staff perspective, from a publishing company that like Anthony was talking about. But I think like when I hear Drew's song, I feel like they can work in a country environment, an R&B environment, potentially, you know, a straight pop environment. I think they can work in multiple genres, which to me is, you know, is a hit song. Like to me, a hit song can be done in multiple genres and accepted by, you know, peoples that are fans of all genres. So those are kind of my standouts.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Ida York. I will say she reminded me a lot of, especially the last song that I heard, Ani DeFranco. Really good. I mean, I really enjoyed her last song. And a lot of her rhyming convention was interesting. A lot of her internal rhyme was interesting.
So just on the issue of diversity, I was so brainless here. I didn't announce that I'm the substitute judge for Denise Adeniyi, who judged the first two rounds. And she had things come up this week and felt like she couldn't do justice to what needed to be done. and didn't want to just whiz through it. And so she considers, anyway, and she is African-American lady and highly educated in music and has judged the Songwriters stage in the past at the Camp House and the Tennessee Songwriters Week. And so as far as diversity, that is a funny thing, because you think, well, the city is 33% non-white or something approximately. And so it's nice if that's fairly representative. I think genre, it's hard to know what all goes into that. Sometimes it's the genre and the style that people like different things. And so hopefully we're inclusive and pursuing that inclusion. I think what's going to happen, though, is for Chattown stages is we have other stages lined up where you will see the diversity flip. When we get down to Chattown Lowdown, which is a rap competition, I don't know what to expect there. And hopefully we'll do that by the end of the year. Coming up April 1st is the Poet Stage, which will be launched next week, where we'll see a whole different color mixture of people. And that, because that is performance poetry, and that will be very different than, you know, what. So anyway, so I'm going to talk about lyrics for a minute. So thanks for bringing that up, and hopefully I loved Ida's lyrics too. The poet in me. See, I write poetry. I'm a member of the Chattanooga Writers Guild. So I love abstract things, and I love rhyme and words that are thought about, that are not careless, you know, that. And so Ida stood out to me because, and I love the angst, you know, she's dealing with painful things in life and social issues. And so she's got my soul there. And so, and then Ryan's, I went in the interview, I talked to him about the rhyme, and he's really is a poetic writer. And all of these, I wonder if what the competition would be like if it was just a written song, just looking at the text. Next time we should do that.
You know, that it's funny you mentioned that, because American Songwriter Magazine does that. They just do a strict lyric contest. I think it's bi-monthly, so it's basically like May and June, July and August, something like that. And theirs is strictly that. I think you used to could submit like an MP3 or something like that of your song, but I think they just strictly do lyrics, which is interesting because you're looking at strictly from a lyrical standpoint, which is another interesting contest to do.
And then Drew's were also strong lyrics. Some of the other ones were good, but I think what happens here is we're looking for exceptional. So you can have good, and that's the problem here, is we have a lot of good or extra good, very good competitors, and what happens is then it brings out the excellence in that pursuit of excellence. So that, then the next thing on our judges list is the music and how the music and the lyrics go together. We'll combine both of those. Not the music, the instrumental aspect, and then how that contributes overall. So combining the instruments and the lyrics. I guess maybe I'll just launch into that. You know, there was an instrumentalist, that Tim Cofield. My gosh, what a great guitar player. E.T. had great guitaring. Catman Smothers. Those were all three exceptional musicians. And if I was going to judge someone just on their musicianship and vocal qualities, Tim just sings wonderfully. We have some great singers. So is Catman Smothers. And but one of the things I noticed with Drew Rochelle is the rhythm of her piano synchronized with her lyrics very well. Sometimes I didn't rate highest if it was just, I'm a guitar strummer, and average strummer, and I like to, when people do better than me, that's really good, you know. So I look for the people that are really doing extra things with their instrument. Let's see, is that, but sometimes it's not so much a fantastic instrument if it really mixes and serves the song well. Maybe that's the really distinguishing point. Did it serve the song overall? Those are the people that stood out to me. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I focus less on the not that the instrumentation is not important. I felt like that I'm with you. If the cadence of the instrumentation follows the cadence of the song, I didn't focus as much on that. I didn't think there was anybody that did. That it was just crazy. I felt like, you know, maybe there was a couple, maybe there was maybe one or two or something like that, where I felt like that there was maybe less of a consistent flow of an engagement. For me, I want a consistent rhythm and melody that goes with the lyric, that nothing that's jarring that takes me out of listening and focusing on the lyrics. So if there's a tempo change that's kind of feels like it's out of left field, and I'm speaking in general terms, if I'm listening to a song and I'm really engaged in the lyrics, and then all of a sudden it's a slow metered song, and all of a sudden they speed it up really fast, and then they go back to mid tempo, and if it's all over the place, that throws me out of being engaged with the song. So that's what if I'm listening to instrumentation, I'm looking for anything that just kind of feels like it's pokes me in the side. I don't want that. I want something that's going to be consistent, fairly consistent, and it can be any tempo. If it stays in a specific tempo, I'm fine with that. But you know, I don't want anything to take me out of being engaged with the actual song and the lyric itself.
I'm gonna be watching our clock here for a minute. How are you doing? What did you think about the instruments there, Stratton?
Yeah, I think like to offer a differing opinion from Anthony, I think Braden, to me, this may be an instrument and lyrics combined, and maybe an overall subjective opinion, probably a little bit of both. Like that song, his whole vibe reminds me of like Sigur Rós, Jonesy, very cinematic, very big, very like, and you don't have to, you know, in some of those like more artsy kind of realms, you don't have to stick to the pop thematic, and there is an audience for that outside of Top 100 radio, you know, and I'm one of those people for sure. So I felt like that, like Braden's specifically, was really outstanding, even though it was pretty basic strumming, but the chords were kind of, you know, open and cinematic, and the vocals were also just like, so I can hear a symphony behind it, you know. So that was really inspiring to me, and I think certainly that song would benefit from a symphonic arrangement and a huge arrangement with as much as could be put into it, even if it's like a MIDI thing. But so that's a little bit of I think a different perspective, probably. I mean,
It's a good perspective.
All the songs that Catman Smothers has entered, to me, have beautiful, wonderful jazzy arrangements that offer some surprises here and there.
Yeah.
Feel very comfortable. Feel like I know what's going to happen next, but maybe offer a little bit of a chordal adjustment that keeps it interesting. And I love that for sure too.
Yeah.
So since you brought up vocals, maybe we should, that's the next on our list. You want to who's the, for you, Stratton? What about the other vocalists besides Braden?
I'm looking at my notes real quick. I feel I really have not mentioned Tim Cofield yet, and that is he certainly stands out as one of the better songs. But strictly on numbers, vocalists, I ranked well, it's hard to beat Drew Rochelle. Like,
Yeah,
it's hard to beat Drew Rochelle. She is a killer vocalist, absolutely killer vocalist. I personally like Braden's style as well, and he hits those notes, and he has a wide dynamic range. But it's rare to see someone with as much vocal control as what Drew Rochelle brought to the table in her submissions, I think.
What would you think of the idea that the younger people were pushing themselves in a way that the older folks were not? That they have done this before, and I heard like Braden, and this is probably classic in all sports and stuff. The younger people are experimenting and they're going for their goal, and you'd like to think that we don't lose that as we get older. Look who's old.
Well, I think what you hit on is pretty interesting to think, because I fall into that category where after a while, especially if you're a singer songwriter, you know what works for you and so you kind of hone in on that, and you try to refine that specific portion. So that portion is consistent. So for me, I know what works for me. I'm not a pop singer. That's just what I am. But I know what works for me, and I know what works for my vocal range. And that's just been from me doing it for so long. So I know these are the keys that are comfortable for me. I know this is where I know I'm not going to be able to belt out that. I give it up to anybody that can. But you're right. I think as a younger artist, probably you haven't come in, unless you've been doing music your whole life. But most people, in your late teens, you're trying to emulate or find what your groove is. And a lot of people, they tend to lean towards artists that they listen to, and you slowly start to refine that down into what works best for you. For me, I didn't focus on the vocal that much, because I felt like if this is a songwriting competition, I need to be listening to what the song is and not the vehicle that's delivering it. It's nice to have, if we're relating it to a vehicle, it's pretty to look at a Ferrari, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's delivering the best package. But
well, the title of this competition is singer songwriter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would just have it written.
Yeah.
So it is part of the package, and I say
there wasn't anybody that was bad. So that I'm not sitting there looking at it and going, this was trash. It was, everybody did a great job. I thought everybody sang well for their song.
But I heard some people who were, I said this in a couple of interviews, sometimes there's a natural talent that people get by with, and then there's people that are working hard at it. And Drew is a hard worker at it. That Braden, I agree, and for him, it's the deliverance of the passion. The song was basic, not complicated at all. And I mean, the repetition there at the last part, and yet it's a meaningful song, and it was delivered in a very passionate way. Maybe more than some of the others. If I was given a special award for passion, maybe he would have got it. And stretching his voice. I wish he could have enunciated a little bit better in the first opening lines. But anyway, who else was it?
Well, I'll tell you somebody that really I followed along while we've been judging this, and I do want to point out, because we've not mentioned him, E.T. I thought that I felt like that consistently over the whole course of the competition. I felt like that he's done a really good job of presenting his songs well, and the songwriting's been pretty consistent across the board for him. And I do want to encourage him, and because there are some songwriters we haven't mentioned, and I feel bad that I don't want them to think, Nancy Dwight Siders as well. I don't want them to think that we're just looking over them and not pointing out. There were just some that stuck out more, and that comes with any competition. But I feel like that everybody kind of brought their own really unique thing to the table, and it's really hard to judge that, because it's so subjective. So I'm sitting here looking at it just from a purely technical standpoint. Not that it's bad. It's just, it is a competition, and that's the hardest part of it is looking at it, because you could go somewhere else and you may get something totally different. So I think,
Yeah, I got a perspective on this. I've been doing this songwriter stage for a couple of years, and
Yeah.
you can make a big deal out of it. And I remember Stephen Busey was in a contest a couple of years ago, and he didn't win. I don't think he even made it a cutoff or something. And yet I stopped down at Puckett's one night, and there's a singer-songwriter in there, and I'm listening to them. Who is this incredible guy? Oh, that's Stephen. And I'm like, how did he not win this thing? Because he's an incredible singer-songwriter, great voice, all original songs, and he didn't win it. And so I'm like, whatever, I guess this contest. So we try to say it's a showcase, and it really is, because I don't know. Anyway, we got to make it a contest to try to get people to come and watch it. And
I'll say this: song choices is the biggest thing about this. Your song choices is exactly what this is about. And so I was always in the opinion of bring your best every single time. Not that they didn't bring their best, but I'm just saying don't hold anything back. If you held something back, don't hold anything back. And that's in any type of songwriting or singer-songwriting competition, is bring your best every single time, because you don't know, you can only do your best. And if you're not providing or presenting your best, because you out of fear of, I want to hold something back in case I get on to the next level. And this is going back from the beginning of the competition, is just put it out there, and always bring your best. Because you never know. And like I said, I think a lot of people, they have this in mind. Okay, I'm going to save what I feel like is my best to the end. So in case I get to the end, well, what if you don't make it to the end? Then you didn't, bring your.
that's a hard one.
Best song.
So I think we were down here to the end. Did you guys say everything you wanted to about the vocal range of the artist? Anyone who needs a big shout out before we move on? Next, I think the last one is the subjective, the judge's choice, and I'm going to show the score sheets of everything. I guess we've kind of already said what our subjective.
Yeah, I think we have. One thing that we haven't covered and that I did want to mention was how important it is to have a fan base who's out there voting for you online. That's something you were going to mention, Mark, but there are certainly artists on this finalist list who were boosted big time by their fan base, by the fact that they were promoting the event, promoting themselves, and making sure they had as many ears as possible on their song. And quite frankly, that is basically the name of the game. I mean, Anthony, you may disagree with me being a writer for a publishing company. I kind of doubt it. But like, if you have fans, you will be successful. So building your fan base is very, very important.
No, I'll say this, you're exactly right. Because in order for people to hear you, in order for you to, you got to get out there. So I don't disagree with that. I'm not a big proponent for popularity deciding things, but people are popular for a reason. You got a point there. You got an exact point there. So people are popular for a reason. So no, I don't wholeheartedly disagree with that at all.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share and show what we got here. Let's see, whiteboard, Songwriters 2021. Is this the right one? Final ballot, here it is. Okay, y'all see that?
Yeah.
We have Braden Gurete with the People's Choice of 166. So he will be first place on the People's Choice. Nancy Dwight Siders with 110 votes is second place on the People's Choice. And it looks like the judges have given the final first place to Drew Rochelle and second place to Ryan Oyer. And Tim Cofield, at one point, you were my first place choice. I really wanted you in there. Ida York, I was like, how come she didn't get to, whatever. All these great people in here. Nancy, you did win second place. Ryan, E.T. You're talking about judge's favorite. If I'm going to go sit down and relax and hear some music, I want to hear E.T. Isn't that funny? Anyway, what is the other? Let's see if I can share the other one. Oops, I need to do stop share and pull up the other one. And now I need to do share again. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. I'm trying to show the little, I can't do it. I wanted to show the...
interrupt you while you figure it out and just say congratulations to both the People's Choice Award winners and also the judges winners. Like that's big. This was a really strong group of finalists, and I know all of us worked pretty hard to judge these songs and listen to these songs multiple time upon time again. And great work, everybody. You did great.
Yeah, that you're exactly right, Stratton. I sat down and listened to songs multiple times, each song multiple times, and went through my rubrics basically for each time I listened, saying, okay, this wasn't just a first pass listen. This was multiple listens. You know, there was some anxiety because it's like you want to be conscientious of, you know, of the person's work that they put into it and be constructive. And that's the whole point of it. It's, again, I can only reiterate because I don't want people to think we're judging you as a person. It's the song. That's it. It's the song, and it's subjective, and it's an opinion. So take it for what it is, and don't let it discourage you. Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing a great job. Don't let it discourage you.
Well, I'm thankful that I got to be part of this. Launching this Chattown Stages was an adaptation to COVID global health crisis, and not sure what's going to be happening as people start. We're still not having in large crowd concerts, and it's possible that in the future this will be a combination. We might have the entries come in online and the same sort of thing, and then have the finale at a location. So this event tonight, instead of recorded, would be someplace live. That would be ideal. But either way, it's so wonderful to be part of the Chattanooga creative arts community. And so I thank again our judges and Denise, who is not here. Thank you. Our sponsors, Mountain Music and Soundcore. And I'm gonna sign off and thank all the contestants, all the original contestants that weren't in the finale. And we'll keep your information on the website and look forward to seeing you around town somewhere. Am I forgetting anything? Thank you and good night all.